A little bit more Alabama, but here we have Florida State. Florida State in the next round after Alabama played UCLA, Florida State and Alabama had to win two. So Florida State had to beat Alabama 2 times because Alabama hadn't lost yet. So
Okay.
it's a wild tournament where there is a loser's bracket and you can fight your way back. It's incredible.
Interesting.
So it was, I think it was the third. Second round. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So second round, we have Florida State and Alabama. Florida State had to beat 2 times Alabama. So here we had Florida State come back from the losers bracket, beat Alabama to advance on to the championship game.
Wow.
And this is like, I think the stats they are up. Yes. So it was a big hitting game for Florida State. It was like huge because they hadn't been hitting like that. They finally came out of something. Like they were in a little bit of a funk there, and they were playing small ball most of the tournament, like bunting, slapping, like moving quickly, a lot of hit and runs, which you don't see a ton of in baseball compared to softball. Softball will do the hit and run a lot.
Gotcha.
I wanted to give a little shout out to Danny Morgan, who I briefly played softball with in high school. She is the center fielder for Florida State. I also oversaw her in our writing center when I was the lead tutor. But anyway, she hit 2 for 3 and scored both of FSU's run and their 2-0 win over to help eliminate Alabama. Like I said, Florida State was playing like smaller ball where they were just using movement. And they finally got runners on the bases and they were just able to move them, which was great to see how that can be just as effective as like power hitting because they were so aggressive on the base paths. A lot of stealing and, like I said, hit and run situations. So it's a different style of play. There are a few different ways softball can be played, which is really interesting. A lot of times you will either see like a bigger team that will hit a lot of bombs, or you will see a smaller team that will bunt, slap, steal, and just kind of play in a quick game. So I don't know how familiar you are with slapping, but it is the left side. It's kind of a footing movement, and then they do like a bunt or a bunt hit on the run. So from the left-sided batter box, you're about 3 feet closer to the base. So they take that moving and then they run the ball out. And it's super effective because the base paths are short enough to get on base.
I was going to say, not to sound funny, but that's for an example for people that maybe don't know what you're talking about. I'm assuming it's kind of like Ichiro. I don't know if you remember that baseball player Ichiro, where he used to do the like running out of the box as he was hitting it kind of thing.
Keep his feet
like
moving.
That kind of, that kind of style is what I'm assuming. What I'm imagining in my head, basically.
Kind of like that. They do have to keep their feet in the box, and if they don't, then it's a called out. But other than that, like it's a quick movement. You do see a lot of slappers place the ball onto like left field, like right behind the shortstop. They try not to hit it on the ground unless there's like a runner on a lot of the time, because if they're putting it down on the ground, they're like, oh, that's okay if this is an out. Like we're just trying to move the runner. You see a lot of that, but that's what Florida State was playing for a little bit. They do a lot more bunting than slapping. I'm not sure how many lefties they have on their team, but they did a lot of bunting. They did a lot of like short little base hits rather than the big hitting, until they met Oklahoma, which is the stat that we're looking up at here for the next round. This was, I believe it was yesterday's game. These are the stats of last night's game. I prepped this before they played tonight, so I don't have the stats from tonight. But this was FSU Oklahoma game 1. It was on June 8th. Florida State won 8-4. That's big hitting compared to how they were hitting. So it was a big movement up for them. They kind of came out of it. I was listening to SportsCenter, I think it was yesterday before the game. A commentator said that they see Florida State as a good team, but that they just don't have the talent of Oklahoma. And I was like, I can't believe that. Like, I completely disagree with the athleticism and the speed and the heart that Florida State was showing by playing like through this big hit drought and using the small movements of the ball to like move forward, rather than Oklahoma that has been hitting huge all year. It was just like, it's two different types of style of play, and to say that like one is more talented than the other, well, it really got me fired up. I thought it was more impressive that Florida State can bounce back when the hitting wasn't always there.
Yeah, well, and the other thing too is like it's with every sport. There's always different styles of play, and it's you live and die by your style. And it's like, yeah, for them to say like the hitters of Oklahoma is too much for any team, let alone Florida State and playing smaller. It's ridiculous because I mean you saw in the first game where basically Oklahoma just never could get it going hitting wise, and meanwhile Florida State did. So it's like one of those where it's you can live and die by whatever strategy you have, but at the end of the day, if you're not hitting the ball, then that's not then you're gonna struggle. And if that's your strength is hitting the ball deep and getting a lot of power and stuff like that, then yeah, that's and then you saw in game 2 where then that kind of switched, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But yeah, so it's funny to see that where you don't really like people don't understand that like different strategies can work in different ways, and if your strategy is not going to work every single day, and that's all it takes. I mean, that's why we're in game 3 of the World Series now.
So I wrote this morning. I said that with the momentum and big hits of yesterday, I foresee Florida State taking the championship. So this was before I watched today's game. And I had written also, however, I would love to see Oklahoma take game 2, and then see a high stakes game 3, which is what we're about to get.